namaste, Dr. Dev Ashish Giri.
Namaste.
Very happy to have you in the program Yoga for Unity and Well-being to talk to you about a topic that we have never had in this 4 years of program. And so before I reveal the topic, I would like to talk about who you are. And you are mostly a hardcore scientist with starting with a BSc and MSc in biotechnology and pursuing with a PhD in genetics. You finally ended up doing a postdoctoral research in cell and molecular biology. But currently, and since 2022, you moved to Haridwar, to a very famous university that is partnering with this program, Dev Sanskriti Vishwavidyalaya in Haridwar. And you are a volunteer researcher in the department, the Yagyavalkya Center of Yagya Research. So what are you doing and what is a Yagya?
Thank you so much, Dr. Veronik. And I'm really happy to be discussing this topic or subject with you all. And it's really a pleasure to meet with you and interact with you. So, here in the Center of Yagya Research, we try to understand the different aspects of Yagya and Mantra and its impact on environment as well as the people who are doing it. And we started working on these subjects uh, actually from 1979 through Ayurvedic doctors and people who understood a little more about Veda and different scriptures of India. And but this center is for mainly for the more advanced and more chemical and molecular study about yagya and mantra. So we try to understand the science behind yagya, how it works, and the impact of yagya, which has been stated in Veda and lots of scriptures, and how it actually happens, like how yagya works, how it generates the impact that has been elaborated in our Vedas. So this. There are multiple aspects of this, and the one which is the environment, how it impacts environment, the another how it impacts the person who's doing it. And we also work on a specific field which is called as yagya treatment or yagya chikitsa, where this yagya process is used to treat or alleviate different disease conditions. And we have been giving people different types of herbal mixtures to be used during yagya for at least now 20 years for now. And there are thousands of people who have taken it and they have got benefited. But we do not know how.
So before we go into the very specific science and treatment that where you're using for people who are maybe completely new and not from India, can you
Yes.
explain what is a yagya? What do you do? How is it performed? Like some first techniques, explanation of what it is all about, and also where does it come from in the culture? Yes.
So it's a fire ritual where we lit or burn a fire using specific types of wood, and then we offer herbal mixture and ghee, which is clarified butter. And this herbal mixture is actually made up of different types of herbs, and that information comes from Ayurveda. That which kind of herb should be used for your care. And there are other certain specific instruments we can say which are also used during this. It's a 1 hour process, 45-minute to 1 hour process. But the three main ingredients are the wood that is used for fire, and the herbal mixture, and the ghee, which is the clarified butter.
So it's a fire, usually the fire ritual, is it done in every family and how is it performed? Is it done in the morning or in the evening on special occasions?
So there are multiple purposes for this yagya. If you see Indian culture, any single ritual or auspicious occasion cannot be done without doing this yagya. Either you do a sanskar, a ritual where you do the naming ceremony, or you do the education ceremony, or you do diksha, or you do marriage ceremony. Each and every ceremony in India is followed by yagya. That's one way which is been done in our country. But as a spiritual process or more of a sadhana process, it is generally done in early in the morning, ideally to be done during sunrise or during sunset. But I have seen people doing it during sunrise, early in the morning. So the first thing that they do after finishing their personal sadhana routine, they do yagya. So either they do it alone or do it in group. But it
And
is there in each and every auspicious ritual in our country.
so is it still performed in every home in India nowadays? Or how is this uh, deeply ancient ritual being practiced today?
The one thing that I can say from my personal experience, that at least once in a month, or at least twice in a year, maybe that will be more appropriate. It is done in almost every home, or at least people try to be part of it. That is during Navratri. Those 9 sacred days, which happens twice in a year, people try to be part of yoga. I think almost everybody in India tries to be part, or living abroad tries to be part of it. Otherwise, any special or auspicious occasion when it happens in their home, either it's a any sort of puja or any sort of other religious activity, yoga becomes the integral part of that. But there are, at least I think, to best of my knowledge, what I have experienced, what I have seen, at least 10 million people in India still practice yoga every day. That's what I have experienced through.
Every day, 10
Yes,
minutes every
yes,
day.
at least 10 million people must be doing yoga every day. And I've seen when I was in Hyderabad, and when I used to go to the center where the yoga was performed, at least 100 people used to come every day to perform yoga. And that is one center. And from my organization, we have more than 5,000 centers where yoga is performed every day. And the center I was part of is one of the, I would say, least active centers, to say so. And there are centers where thousands of people perform yoga every day. So from that calculation, I calculate it to be at least 10 million. But I do not have exact data, but there are people who perform yoga every day.
So can you tell us, in general, what are they? They're also called by different names. And
Yes.
so, what are these different names, and what are the general what is the general purpose or benefits, like itself? Not, I understand it is done as part of of every ritual, but what is the mm, purpose of having a fire ritual, and what are the names?
So there are different names for it depending on the tradition that one follows. So there's one which is called as Havan, and if there's one which is called as Homa, there's another which is called as Agnihotra. These are all are collectively yajna. So these are all types of yajna, and there are different parts of country where it is also called as yajan, and so there are different names, but basically it is the offering of the most auspicious thing or most valuable thing that you have for the well-being of everybody. That is the message, and that's the practice. Like if you see the ghee, being from a culture which is which sees cow and cow products very sacred, and ghee becomes one of the elixirs of our culture, and that is what is the most important thing which is offered in here. Okay? So you can see that the most important thing that a household has is offered in here. Okay? And that are also is very intriguing to know that the most important thing is actually burnt. If you see it from a very logical point of view, that is what is burning, and that's where we started asking question: is it everything is getting burned or not? So, and also depending on the time duration, like there are types where people do it for just 10 minutes. There are types where people do it for 45 minutes to 1 hour, and there are types where people do it for days together. So there are different classification. It's very hard to classify yajna in particular way, because that is also done based on the mantra which is used, based on the anusthan or the sadhana package or the retreat which is precedes which yajna. So there are multiple different types, and I'm still yet to find out a proper classification. I haven't come across a single classification which can classify all the types.
So, so you're studying that, and that's like your daily study, and so you're not only, of course, reading about it, but you're experimenting with yagya right now in a scientific setup where you're looking at the different ingredients that you and that can be offered, and what is their scientific effect. So I would like you to tell us more about what can be used as material, like the wood that is used, but also maybe the pit that is used, and then the different herbs. You've said about ghee, but also different herbs, and why what is used.
Okay, so if we see the yajna, the constituents of yajna, the most important is the fire. So it is done in a specific altar, and the shape also signifies the purpose and the outcome. So the one which is used for all purposes is basically a square shaped, inverted pyramid shaped altar, and but there are different shapes also. And then the fire is made using either a specific type of wood, which is in general mango wood, which is the most widely used. There are other different types like banyan tree, or I don't know the English names of these trees, but in India they are called as people, and it's called palash. These are different, and then bale also used. So khair is also used. There are different trees which can be used. Pine is also used in USA. What I have learned that people in USA also perform fire ritual. The native people of US, and they use pine. I can recollect. So this is what you use to make fire. There are people who also use cow dung made biscuits or things to make fire. That's the fire. And the another thing, the next thing is what you offer into fire. Right. The most important thing that we offer in the fire is ghee, the clarified butter, which should ideally be from indigenous breed, which makes A2 milk, and it's clarified butter or ghee is what is the most preferred uh, ghee that should be used in yajna. And the next thing is the herbal mixture. So different herbal mixtures are used for different purposes. There is a all-purpose herbal mixture that anybody can use, and there are specific herbs also which are used for specific purposes. The people who also use grains like rice also is used. The people who use dry fruits also, and the people who use the betel nut, and then coconut, dried coconut is also used. So there are different things, and barley is also used. There are some people who use barley. There is a type of yagya where sesame seeds are also used. But these are all very specific purpose yagya. In a normal purpose yagya, there are 10 to 12 different types of basic herbs that we use, and which is available anywhere in India. If you go to any shop which is made for a specific purpose, you can find havan podi or havan mixture or herbal mixture which can be used in yoga. But if that is not available to anybody, I've seen in rural India where people use rice, ghee, and a little bit of barley. That's the most common three ingredient mixture that I have seen in even most remotest place of India. And I remember once I was traveling to a part in Andhra Pradesh, and we stayed for a night in a farmer's house. And in the morning, he performed yagya, and he used these three things. He had a cow, so he used ghee, and he used his own rice, and he used barley. He mixed all these three together, and he lit the fire using cow dung, and he performed that, right? So these are the things that I have observed. I've also am working with specific herbs and its impact. So there are more than 500 different types of herbs which can be used for yoga and are being used for treatments. And there are then there are other things which are common, like flour, water, turmeric or chandan, or kumkum, or this is there are other things which are basically used in rituals. So people, depending on the tradition or the part of India, they use different things which are what they use commonly for any auspicious ritual. And then there are yagya specific instruments which are specifically used to perform yagya. Like there are five most common instruments which are used to do yagya. One is used to do sacrifice or the offerings. The another is used to take out the ash or the bhasma of yagya. There's another which is specifically used to offer sweet which is offered at the end of the yagya process. So there are different things.
So the now you in the laboratory, you are studying the effect of it on health.
Yes.
So how do you do it? What do you analyze, and what has been the some of the findings you've
So if
made?
you see it from a very rational or logical mindset, at very beginning you'll see that everything is getting burned. Like you are buying 2,000 or 3,000 rupees kg ghee, and then these are all auspicious herbs, and they're all being burned. Like why don't you eat it? If there is any benefit at all, it's better to eat it orally. So that was the first question. The second question that we saw is, if it is being burned, what is coming out of it, right? So the first thing that we targeted to see the emission of vehicle, like which kind of common emittents or the effluents are coming of the fume. So we did the total or the air quality, and we found that all the things which are called as carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrates, sulfates, particulate matter, all of they come out of the air. Anything you burn on earth, I guess, logically should consume oxygen and emit carbon dioxide. But the question is there under the limit? What is the amount or the quantity which is coming out? So we performed a 100-day experiment where we performed yagya continuously for 100 days, and we took the reading 24/7 for 100 days to see the impact of the emission in the total air quality. And what we found is that these emissions, they never cross the prescribed limit. So if you see, commonly government makes zones of emission: green zone, yellow zone, orange zone, and red zone. And what we found that it never crosses the green zone. So the emissions are there, they are normal emission, but it is always under prescribed limit. The second thing that we found is particulate matter. So the particulate matter is actually very high when we do yagya, and it also crosses it actually crosses the machine's sensors limit, right? So it is that much. So that's one aspect, but we do not know the chemical nature or the physical nature of particulate matter. So we cannot say that it's harmful or it is not harmful. So these are the two common things. This, but the question is, what is specific to yagya? These are the things that I talked about: the emission and the particulate matter. They come out of anything that you burn. But there are emissions which are source specific or the material specific. So the question that we asked is, what if we change the Havan Samagri or the herbal mixture, does the emission change? Right? So we did a thorough gas chromatography and mass spectrometry analysis. When we found for the first time, it showed that there are volatile organic compounds which come out of yagya, and they are specific to the herbal mixture that you use. So that's where the first time we showed that when you perform yoga, not everything is burnt. The organic compounds and volatile compounds, they come out. And the people who are sitting over there, they inhale it. So they depend, and that's where we understood why people change herbal mixture. It's when you have a specific disease or a specific condition, you use a specific herbal mixture because the organic compound is going to come out of it and you're going to inhale it. And the so these are the first few basic questions that we addressed, and we're still trying to understand the emission of different herbal mixtures. The another very common thing that people try to see is the antimicrobial activity of this, and it is very well studied. It has been studied by multiple groups. Multiple groups have performed the and in different settings, and they have shown the antimicrobial activity of yagya. That there are certain types of microorganisms which uh, whose numbers, colony numbers, reduce on a plate after performing Kriya. We have also done it extensively to see that there is specific types of microorganisms or bacterial colonies whose colony count reduces. That's another thing. One very specific type of thing that we are trying to do or trying to understand is what happens to the person who is doing it, right? And there are multiple aspects of it by which we can study it. There are case studies that we have done, and we have shown that the people who do yoga, they feel good. The psychometric parameters improves, and there is specific case studies which has been done for different people for different diseases. So before we go to that, I would like to say that we have herbal mixture for more than 30 diseases, and these are 30 different combinations made for 30 different conditions, or more than 30 different conditions. So we and my colleagues here, we tried all those mixtures on different people. For example, we tried on, for a case study, we tried on a person who was on a normal conventional medication for epilepsy. So his epilepsy was under control, but he still used to get seizures. Like occasionally, he used to get seizures. And when he came to our institute, we suggested him to use the Havan Samagri or the herbal mixture is specific for epilepsy. And we asked him to perform it for 40 days, and he performed it for 40 days. And surprisingly, we monitored it, we saw that after 40 days, his seizures were zero. And in fact, it was zero for 3 years for the period we monitored him. So for 3 years, he did not get any seizures. Likewise, we tried it on the people who were diabetic. So their HbA1c percent got reduced, and we also tried on people with thyroid. They also got benefited. We also tried it on people with different types of cancers, but this, their quality of life was reduced because people who go through chemo or radiation therapy, they experience a lot of uh, depressive sentiments, and it's very hard to cope up with the situation. So when they perform yoga, so there are different case studies that we have done. We have found that their quality of life or the mental state was better after performing yoga. Though there are a lot of things that needs to be done, and we are trying to do certain other things to see the impact on different types of cancer patients. But it's very hard to handle people, and it's very hard to handle people who are at these in these tough situations. But we are trying to do certain other experiments, molecular experiments in a lab now to see what happens when a person performs here.
So you're saying that it's not only a ritual of fire mm, for example, passing a certain stage, but there's also a direct chemical effect of the what is burned inside the fire could be like a medicine, and you are also talking about the effect of the emotional impact of the person performing the yagya. And right now, are you able to know what percentage of what is the effect, the different percentage of maybe a person? Is it because they are performing it in the intention and the sankalpa, and also with they are chanting that are performed at the same time? So what is, of course, the entire ritual is all this together. It's very holistic, but Are you also trying to analyze the proportion of what is making an effect on a patient?
Yeah. So if you see the yagya process, then you'll see that the possibility of getting impact is through three things. The first thing is the herbal mixture which is being offered, and then volatile compounds or organic compounds generated from that, and a person will inhale it. So the logic behind it is that when the things are given, so there are different routes by which the medicine can be given, and now we know for sure that the pulmonary route or the nasal route is the most efficient way of giving any disease because it gets incorporated or gets dissolved in blood very easily. And there was a study done doing mathematical modeling to show that the uh, uh, bioavailability of drugs given through pulmonary or nasal route is higher than the other administration of the routes. That's one thing. There was a study when I saw very early done in Italy where people showed that the bioavailability of a drug is higher when given through pulmonary route. The logic is when people inhale it during yagya, respire it, the bioavailability is more than what is when they take it orally. So that's one logic. That's the one mode of benefit. That the active ingredient of that herb is given through the pulmonary route or the nasal route. The other way the person can get impact is through mantra, because mantra do produce sound, and then sound has impact on human health. That's the second round. The third round, which is now being studied by multiple different groups, is the involvement of a person. Like, how are you involved in the yagya? How do you understand the yagya and your purpose of doing yagya? I think that is, to me, is the most puzzling and most dynamic area of work where if you to understand the involvement of a person and impact of that, because we now know that there are mind body interventions which have impact in human biology, and there are studies coming out where people are showing that the impact of meditation and impact of the meditation like love and kind meditation and preksha meditation, and there are different sorts of meditation, they have positive impact on human physiology, and there are multiple different studies which have been done on this. When people think good and they become positive in their mindset and have a constructive thought process in their mind, that has a positive impact on human biology, and it's been shown scientifically. So that's the most crucial thing that should be studied, is how a person is taking the yajna. Because if you see the philosophy of yajna, which is to offer for the well-being of everybody, because when you are offering something in fire, it's not just going to your nose, it is going to the respiration system of anybody who is there sitting in the yajna room. Even the plants and microbes, they're all getting influenced by that. So either you do it consciously or unconsciously, you are doing a welfare to anybody who is near that yajna. So that's where the philosophy of yajna is. Anything which is done selflessly is called yajna. Anything you offer for the well-being of everybody is yajna. And that's the whole philosophy of human body also. Like the whole philosophy behind the society also. Then you live, like that's the philosophy behind dharma also. That you live like an ingredient or a unit of a entire system or entire body. So that's a very important and interesting area to study the impact of yajna.
So very nice. So you're saying at the individual level, it touches your physical, chemical level, the sound level, so the vibration level, but
Yes.
also the mind level, emotional level, according to your involvement and understanding and intention you put there. That's on the individual level, and now you're extending it to people around. So that was performed also. I mean, that is performed every day for the benefit of the entire household. And you've also told us that it has effect on reducing even some microorganism. So it has some effect on health on the entire room. How do you see? So you're a very modern young doctor, and how do you see that something that is so ancient has still its place, or maybe could be revived in the modern society?
So I'll tell you my experience, how actually I started seeing it. So when I started practicing meditation or the jap, Gayatri jap, the one very basic question used to come to my mind is, what is the purpose of life? And that question originates from how to be, like what's the best way of being, what is the best way of conducting yourself, like what is the best way of living life, like how should I be, like how should I be for myself, how should I be for the people around me, and how should I be for the family or the distant family, or for that matter how should I be for my society or for my nation or for my world, like what is the best way of existing. That's the question that kept coming to my mind the day I think I started doing these practices. And I kept asking this question, like, it's like a very, it's like a, this question is not coming from, what I realize is not coming from mine. It's like a very deep question, which I used to feel from very young age. When I came to a place called Shantikund, which is also happens to be the headquarter of our institute, I got a book. That book's title was Who Am I? मैं क्या हूँ? When I read that book, I just hardly read a page, and that made I just got perplexed. Like everything got confused. Like that book says that you are here as a part of a bigger picture, and you are not a body, you are a soul. And to me, like, what is soul and how to be part of a bigger picture, like how, and that says, and then that said a very famous line of our culture is that the biggest sin is to give pain to anybody, and the biggest uh, good thing that you can do is to help somebody. So that's where I like, how can you be like not think about yourself and think about other people? Like this has always perplexed me, and I have always asked this question from multiple different ways. Is what is the answer? When and I kept asking this, and it never got fit in my mind, logical mind, is that seeing the society that we live in today, how can you think of living for others? Like how if you see a person walking, you go to a street and you see a normal guy, and the common question comes to your mind is, how can I live for him? How can I think of my things for him? Like how can I think my life for him? Like how can I think my life dedicated for the society? Like how? Like I'm not getting benefited for them, and these guys are not. They don't deserve. So this, I kept asking this question unless and until I understood about yajna, okay, and a little more about human body when I started doing my research in cell and molecular biology and genetics, like, when I understood how body functions. So if you see the way body functions is, it's not a single unit; it's a group of cells living together. There are approximately 3 trillion cells living inside human body. So it's the play of 3 trillion cells or 3 trillion units working together tirelessly to maintain the body. And the question is how much they work for themselves and how much they work for the body can be understood if you see any organ. To understand how much a cell works for itself and how much it works for the entire body, just see the eyes. Like how much of the thing I see for eyes, or just see the heart. Like how much of the blood pumped by heart is just for heart? Hardly 5% or 10%. The whole of the heart, blood that is being pumped by the heart is pumped for the entire body, right? So if you see, likewise, if you see any organ or any cell in the body is actually working for the entire system, and that's how body exists. A single cell being diseased or not functioning properly can cause any sort of disease. Like even cancer starts from a single cell, like a single cell or a group of cells do not function properly, and you get all those deadly diseases. And body does everything to clean it. And forget about body, the cell does everything to clean itself. Like there are processes now we know, autophagy and programmed cell death, where cell tries to kill itself for the well-being of the entire. our body. This is a philosophical view of the science that and I'll be sorry if anybody has a scientific question, but that's how I saw. Like that, we walk, we feel anything, we eat anything, we are eating everything. The intestines are digesting the food for the entire body. What if the kidney says, like, man, you're eating something bad, and I'm not going to work for what you have eaten? I'm not causing all this drama and the nonsense that is being flown to me, and I'm filtering all of it. It's just because your taste buds. But body does not do it. It does everything. Whatever we do, liver purifies the system. It does the detoxification of the entire body. So if you see the cell, that's how the entire body works, and that's how the society should be, where everybody is working and should be working for the entire society, because our existence is not possible just by ourselves. Each and everything that we get in a day is made by thousand different people. If they don't give us to that, if the plants don't give us what they produce, can we imagine presence of, forget about plants, even if microbes get wiped out from this earth, our lives will take with seconds or minutes to get wiped out. And that reminds me that our body has close to 3 trillion cells. Based on a calculation, our body has more than 3 trillion microbial cells living inside our body in communism, uh, uh, in a kind of community, right? So that's how the human society is, and that is what yajna says. Is the yajna says that the selfless action is yajna. Either it is done using materials, you give it for the well-being of somebody. Either it is done through your intelligence or your mind or your work or your time or anything. With anything that you give for the well-being of everybody, selflessly is called as yajna. And if you see the Havan, it is also that. When you have a precious thing in the house, ghee and herbal mixture that you're offering, and it is going everywhere. Wherever air takes it, the volatile compounds are going to benefit everybody. So that is what yajna, and that is one type of yajna that is called as Agnihotra or Agni Yajna or Havan. But there are different types of yajna, and that reminds me of a story when there is a very revered and great sage that we call as the Dhichi, who donated his spine for the well-being of Dev or the deities, and he donated his spine, means he's donated his life. And once when he donated and gave his life for the well-being of Indra and Devtas, Dadhiji's wife was searching for her husband. And when she met with Indra, she asked him, "Where is my husband?" And Indra said that your husband is doing yajna. It's like he donated his existence for the well-being of everybody. So that's there in our culture, uh, uh, very much ingrained in our, I think, biology. We have to realize, we need to realize it, and that is how I see yajna. Is the essence of yajna is to realize that you are part of a bigger picture, part of an entire system, and you have to see like a cell, that a cell hardly performs 10% of its task for itself, but 90% of the task is for the entire body. And that's what is the dharma of a human being is. That is the mano dharma, is when you perform your actions and your thing for the entire society and entire nation.
Wonderful. Beautiful way to end this interview together, from the individual cell to the entire society. And I just want to ask if you would like to add something that you were not, you thought you should add to this first introduction to the science of yagya for all our audience.
So I'll tell you one experience. When I was performing that 100-day experiment to see the emission of air, I performed it. And I performed it for 100 days early in the morning, and 100 days. And the experience of that, and the intellectual gain, emotional gain, and physical gain that I had can only be experienced. It's very hard to explain. And the way I felt and the way I saw yoga is is enormous. It's like unexplainable. And that's what when then I thought, okay, fine, this is a worthwhile thing to do, because if that is what I am feeling, a person who's from a very so-called scientific frame of mind, a very logical mind, and if I can experience it, then anybody who performs it can experience it. And it's been performed in our society every day. Like what I hear from my grandfather and my grandfather's father, that they used to perform it every day in the morning. The first thing they used to do is to perform. That gives you a complete sense of your existence. It reminds you of what you are actually. So if you are reminded every day that your life can be just puffed off any day, and it can be any moment, like how should you be, like what is the most significant of way of existing in this earth? So when you perform yoga, you realize that that's the most beautiful way of being in the society, when you get whatever you get from the society, but what you give is the most important thing.
Beautiful. Thank you. I
Thank
don't
you
want
so
to
much.
add more. I think it's really landed very beautifully. And
Thank
I
you
want
so much.
to thank you very much for sharing all your knowledge, your experience, also your passion for this subject that is very ancient and at the same time at the top of the scientific knowledge right now. And that has a lot of research going on to understand what these great sages and rishis have been performing and that have been passed into a culture, a complete culture. And now we are understanding, trying to resolve the details of what it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gandhi. Thank you so
And
much.